Hi everyone, for Epic News and En Contexto, for you and for me, for myself, this is Marcelo Palermo. I know that where I live at, it's a little bit too late, maybe, but in other parts of the world where I have many other friends around, it might be a good time to connect to a live broadcast, which, by the way, I'm doing it this way because then I'm going to upload it at my Epic News and Contexto YouTube channel, Marcelo Palermo dos Epic News. You're going to be able to see it there too, on demand, this one. You can see it live on demand as well, of course. Wanted to go through several things, and I hope this is working quite good. If not, give me a hint. There's a problem or a thing going on with the many aspects of the news today. The things that we call the news, that we call the perennial topical issues: immigration, politics, elections, cancel culture, many things that you think about it and you go, okay, what's going on here? Why do we always get derailed from the real issues, the ones that we are supposed to be absolutely mostly into it or about it? The reason is simple. It is because we, as who we are, have been used as products. This is no conspiracy theory or nothing like that. On the contrary, I'm against all that. Because the only way you can learn or know things is by understanding, by investigating, by analyzing, by perusing news all through and through, by learning, by killing ignorance, and you kill ignorance by learning. How do you do that? Well, of course, you got to go through different things and try to understand the best you can. I want to try one thing here. Perhaps this is not exactly working too good. Let's without any headphones. I think that this way we're going to be a little bit better. Just in case, let's work around a little. So, well, let me give you my take as a journalist, as a political analyst, as a social economics analyst. I'm going to come with a book soon. The book has been finished already. It has to go through a final edition, I guess, before being published. The book is called The Anti-Human Manifesto. It's against everything that's bad about humans and for everything that will make us better human. Because just being more humans will not work, will not make the cut. Why wouldn't it make the cut? It's simple. Because, hey, being more human has been more bad than good. If not, we wouldn't be in the predicament we are at still. And the reason is that we always get things wrong. We don't understand the proper ways of solving the many situations. Now we have a whole derailment of attention towards what's happening with the English royal house and Meghan Markle and Harry talking about racism in the house of the Queen and King of England. And to be honest, well, bloody hell, you know what? You know and you understand that we keep on talking about those things because we are derailing attention from what we have to focus into. And we have to focus into the real things that are affecting humans. Recently we had a $2.3 billion, $10 billion bill passed by Congress. We have now also that argument, discussion about the filibuster in Congress and ending it or not. Which, ending filibuster is always beneficial for mostly the party that proposes and puts in a bill, and once you have the bill out there, that the bill doesn't come through because there is filibuster, which, to be technical, means obstruction, literally, to delay, to obstruct. But there's a whole discussion, a whole argument about that too. And when we talk about the rescue plan, of course, the money has to go to the people. Most of American regular workers are hurting because of the COVID pandemic situation that went through and through 2020. We're in 2021, mid-March. Past mid-March, we are entering the ending days of March, the last week and a half of this third month of 2021, and there's still a very delicate situation. Although we have the vaccines going on, people getting vaccinated and being called in very interestingly fast-paced and proper manner, some complaints, some problems, but not too many. We have to say that America is doing great when it comes down to vaccination, not other countries. Some yes, some no. But we're still in the middle of a pandemic situation, and we have to be aware of that. Now, with all that, we're going through a situation that we went through again back in early 2019. That was under the Trump administration, and now it's under the Biden administration. We're talking about the immigration crisis, which comes by means of thousands of immigrants crossing the border. And of course, now the Republicans are blaming the Democrats. Back in 2019, Democrats were blaming the Republicans, and the game will keep on going forth and forth. To be honest, it will never end until you put a stop to it. But for you to put a stop to it, you need to understand the perennial situation. If you keep on blaming Donald Trump or Joe Biden because of the immigration situation, the crisis, but there's always one, you're going to miss the point. You never look south. Right now, you can put your eyes on the storm, which is in Central America. We have failed countries over there, and they cannot contain any crisis situation. And this is not new. It has been happening for decades, pretty much for most of the third world countries' existence. And not only here, it's all over the world. So you're not going to be able to stop people from wanting to leave a place where death, crime, disease, and a bad economic situation is waiting for them. How are you going to tell them not to leave and to be wondering if they could find a better opportunity in another place? How are you going to do that? You're not going to stop them. They are going to try to find ways to get the hell out of where they are at, because the situation is bloody awful, and you need to know that. It's not about stopping them because. It's not about saying we're going to build a wall, as it was happening with the previous administration. It's not about saying, oh, we're only going to accept those who come along accompanied by minors, because people will find ways even to buy a kid to come over here. Desperation is so bad over there that they're going to find a way to get a kid, if they don't have it, to come over here, or if not, parents are going to risk everything to do so. And who can blame them when they don't have the chance to have sometimes one meal a day, when they don't know what is going to happen, if they're going to be alive next week or tomorrow? When they go to sleep in anger and afraid and in despair. Aren't we all to be blamed as humans? I mean, being miserable, failing all the time by trying to bring solutions, doing the perennial, always same things that we have been doing over and over again, and get stuck with the systems, the shit systems that we keep on holding as the ones that are deemed to be projected towards solving the problems that we can never solve with those systems. We keep the words of left versus right, the ideological wars, capitalism versus communism, us versus them versus us. It didn't work. It doesn't work. And trust me, it won't work. Every system is flawed because every time we had a chance to have a good system moving forward towards solving the most urgent problems, we dismiss them. And we, I say all, those who have an interest, politicians and people interested in keeping power, they're going to do that because they need to do that in order to keep themselves, to stay in power, to keep themselves there, safe. But when it comes to you and me, are we going to keep on blaming the Russians or the Iranians or the Chinese because they get into the net system, the cyber world, and the social media, and they tell us who to vote for? So what are you? Are you an imbecile that you cannot understand for yourself what's good and not for you? I'm talking to a human being. Yeah, we are an imbecilic species. We have done more wrong than right. But we have done some very good right too. That is, very good things that we have to ponder and bring up so we can understand what we have at hand towards bringing a better future. And soon, some of us are thinking is if we will have a chance to see something better than what we have. This is what we are, and I know it's going to be very hard to change the core of what we are. But we do have a chance to bring the better future. Are we going to make that happen? Or are we going to sink ourselves into this world of despair that we have created? Check the situation with immigrants. I remember in 2019, we had the chance to help here literally thousands of people coming in despair because they were running away from crime-infested places, from hunger, from poverty. What do? Are we going to keep on sending millions of dollars to corrupted governments, which, by the way, never get to solve their people's bad situation because they eat almost all of that money? We are going to be tricked up and down, down and up. United Nations, back in 1998, they started a report and a program that was intended to end the basics of poverty, or most of poverty, in 20 years. That was supposed to be in 2018, 2021, and we still have millions of people living with just $1.5 a day. Or some of them, if they're lucky, they will have $1.5 or $2 to make it through 2 days or half a week or even a whole week. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Can you imagine, you yourself an American, either if you are unemployed or employed and you are actually being paid by the loss of the minimum wage, I mean 7.25 or something like that, I guess it is. Now that they're having an argument about bringing that up to $15 an hour here in the United States of America. Can you imagine living with $1 bloody dollar or $1 with 50 cents or $2 bloody dollars a day? It is inconceivable, right? But it is what's happening. It keeps on happening in many places all over the world. That is why we need to bring perennial solutions such as examples, back in the late 70s and early 80s when the steel crisis hit many places of the world, especially parts like Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, which is the steel state. The steel crisis, the price of the steel went up to the hill, up to the sky. And the construction business suffered, terrible construction business suffered to a point in which it almost disappeared in the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm bringing this case because it was iconic. They decided to apply the split tax rate and then the land tax, and perennially bringing down the regular tax on earnings and the perennial taxes that we all pay in order to turn it into, which it was a split tax, into the tax system of the land. We'll tax the land so nobody will speculate and people will not be taxed for the improvements. That means for the work. So whoever will rent a piece of land will have to work that piece of land, not let it rot and speculate, and not you're going to buy a piece of land for £1 and then sell it in a matter of years for $2, $3, $4, $5 million or whatever. You will have to work it out. That is what people started doing back then. The different cities, 15, started with Harrisburg, following with Scranton, and eventually Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, started doing that. So guess what? In a matter of 2 years, the construction business and all business around, because when construction flourishes, all businesses flourish. You construct what? Buildings to do what? To conduct business. So you have the entertainment business flourishing, the healthcare business flourishing, legal business flourishing, the restaurant and food industry businesses are flourishing too. Everything went up to a fantastic, listen to this, 293%. Eventually, politics and perennial bureaucracy started playing into the whole thing. And what happened? Guess what?
Many of the places that were applying these policies actually stopped applying the split tax, the split rate tax, or the land tax because it wasn't convenient for, who do you think we're talking about here? Politicians, officials, those who are supposed to be working for us. Well, it's time to actually bring these examples of things that will help, for example, to create in many unused lands little towns, or even as the government to start looking at those many places, many forgotten ghost towns. Yeah, I'm talking about ghost towns, towns that have been left by people, and we have in the United States literally hundreds of those. Even in Texas and California. Here in South Texas we have one or two. In California, all over the place, and all over the country, and all over the world. We can use those towns to rebuild them with who? Those immigrants, those refugees who are running all over the world and trying to find a place where they can find peace and an opportunity. What do we do instead? We have them here. We process all the tramitations, everything. We see if they qualify as refugees. We try to give them shelter, but in the meantime, we wait 2 years. We send them to places such as Chicago, New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston, places that are packed with people. We pack places that are already packed. Instead of telling them, here, you came here with your family, with your kids. We're going to start a new town. You're going to be part of it. We're going to use the split rate tax system or the land tax system. Let's create business. Let's bring businesses that want to start and help them out over there. And let's not charge them with extra taxes. Let them work things out. And eventually, you know what? In a matter of 3 to 5 years, you're going to have a town that is probably or had the potentiality to turn into a city because people are going to want to move over there. Think about people coming from El Salvador, from Guatemala, from South Mexico, from whatever places in Latin America and the rest of the continent, from any places. Well, let's focus now into Central America, which is the principal provider of refugees here in the United States of America. Lots of immigrants running away from poverty, from misery, from crime, because they're coming from failed states. If you have thousands of people coming from a country or from a certain group of countries to another country, that means that their countries are failing miserably. They are not providing their citizens with the basics for them to feel secure, to feel safe, to feel like they have a chance. And this is happening more and more and more. And trust me, I've spoken with thousands of migrants back in 2019, and I'm looking forward to do the same now, because I know that I'm going to encounter myself with the same kind of situations, the same old situation, that potentiated by the COVID-19 situation, which, by the way, if it hit us hard here in the United States of America, think of what it did to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth world, because we don't have only a third world country. We have fourth, fifth, and sixth world countries as well. I can keep on going with that. So instead of keeping thinking and blowing your mind around with all of this talk about, do we have plenty of racism when we watch a cartoon? Is it okay for an artist to show half her ass and have a choreography with sexual innuendos at the Grammy ceremony? Who gives a bloody rat's ass, really? You know, instead of keeping on going through that, seeing if there was or not racism in the royal house in England, which, by the way, we know it doesn't happen. There is a situation, there is a problem, and if they had a problem, let the kids stop Meghan and Harry and let them be happy. Let them follow and pursue happiness. They're here. Good for them. I wish them the best. But don't fall into the perennial media trap, the politics trap, because politicians are very happy when you are distracted. Why? Because you don't call them out. You don't claim anything. You're like, okay, you know what? We're very busy with this cancel situation. Let's see if, People Pew or Mr. Potato Head or whatever, is in or out of air because of whatever it is, the situation now that everybody's offended by everything. People come out, grow the fuck up. That's what I have to say. We need to. We need to, because we have already fallen and we are a failed species. Humans, you have failed. I'm part of you, so I'm talking to myself as well. In my book, The Anti-Human Manifesto, I address all these topics and way more, so we can see a way out of this situation of stranded misery, spiritual and heartfelt misery that we have as a species. That's why we keep on talking about racism when we don't understand one perennial and very important thing. Racism comes out of ignorance, stupidity, imbecility. If we keep on having plenty of imbecile humans, we're going to keep on having racism because we don't understand the most fundamental thing that I can tell you as a social anthropologist that I am. There's only one race when it comes to humanity. That is the human race. Different ethnicities. And let me explain it to you at a 1.0 kind of level. You know what we humans and coffee have in common? Moreover, the fact that we drink it all over and we love it because it wakes our senses up, that we come from the same place. We hail from Ethiopia. Both humans and coffee have been originated in Ethiopia. And from there, we moved our genetic pools all over the bloody world. Look at how fantastic that is. That's for humans and coffee. But I cannot talk to a coffee bean because a coffee bean will not be able to reason and respond. Thankfully, I mean, they might be thank God for that, right? I mean, the humans you do, so understand where you hail from. All of you. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your religion, your ideology, your nationality. We are all in this big bloody ship called Mother Earth, planet Earth. You're going to count 5 fingers in your hand, 5 fingers in the other one, a nose, 2 eyes, 2 ears, the mouth, your teeth, your heart. Oh, bloody, I mean, come on, bloody hell. You know what I'm talking about. You understand what a human is, and you have to understand that essentially we're all the same. Fortunately enough, with many differences, so that's a blessing. It makes our species more entertaining, more interesting, and it should make our species richer, better, wonderful actually. No, we use that, on the contrary, and instead of, we use that to make ourselves miserable. We created a whole structure of superiority, classes, as we call it races, which is in reality ethnicities. So the term racism should be replaced for something like ethnicism. I am trying to bring out something new here so we can understand that we cannot be exactly racist. Why? Because we're all the same bloody race. Can you understand that? Get it through your thick skull, you bloody imbecile human? Again, don't take it personally because I'm a human too. But take it personal because I'm a human too. I mean, talking to the species. We have to move forward trying to bring better solutions. Look at how bad they did in the previous administration, but with COVID and immigrants. And here in this administration it's happening the same. We're moving forward trying to find a solution for the COVID thing, but now they find out that they cannot contain the immigration situation because people are desperate and they're going to keep on trying to pour through and get through the borders no matter how tall that wall is. And now they see that it's not a Donald Trump or a Joe Biden fault, but a perennially structured world policies failure in those so-called leaders that are not only in this country but in other countries' fault. You cannot call people and say, hey, you know what, don't come along. Come with a minor, because if you come along, as they were saying in this administration, you're not going to be let in. But if you come with a minor, accompanied by a minor, the doors are going to be open. So guess what? You're just going to grab a minor and come over. But instead of that, why you have about finding a solution for those failed countries so they can have a better situation for their citizens. We're not going to do that if we work with them. We have to work for them and tell them how there are solutions that can be applied, but they have to be supervised. That's why we have a place, an organism called United Nations that was formed with the idea of solving the most urgent of human problems in different countries. It didn't work, it failed. The End Poverty program started again, I say this again, in 1998, which was intended to eradicate poverty in a matter of 20 years had failed miserably. And don't blame COVID-19, because before COVID we were in a very practically same situation when it comes down to poverty. Yes, of course, this exacerbated it, the COVID-19 situation, the pandemic. But that doesn't mean that we weren't doing great before. No, we weren't. We're talking about the whole world. And as soon as, or as long as we don't start thinking about the whole world, about humanity as a whole, we are not going to come down with practical perennial solutions. Trust me, there's many things that can be done to solve the many urgent human problems, and we could and we should be able to solve them. The thing is that we really will have to call out many leaders, political officials, people in power, for them to really be honest and give a little bit away, of that power. That's coming in the form of financial power. And understand that, for example, when you have a program where you give away billions of dollars, instead of putting companies first, you know what you have to do first and foremost? Put money in the people's pockets. Let me give you an example. A politician back in the early 2020, just a year and a month ago, when we didn't exactly know how the COVID situation would affect us, and Democrats were having the primaries, the presidential primaries. This candidate spent $500 million in advertising, in marketing, in promoting himself just 4 days before forfeiting the race, quitting, giving up. How about taking those $500 million and give a cool meal to, say, around 300 million Americans? I mean, I know that many Americans already have the lifestyle of that. More than many are actually quite dire straits, right now, and they will be very happy if they could use one cool meal. We say, well, you know what, you're going to give $1 million away. People will not work anymore, nothing like that. I said, no, because you can have a plan. Structure things as they will work. What if I tell you, let's say you work at a coffee shop, you're a barista, and you make the minimum pay, you make the minimum wage. I mean, you make, what, $7.25 an hour, $7.25 an hour, plus tips. They're not too good sometimes they're better, but you're there. So I give you $1 million. I'm the government. But I also will make you sign a contract. Now, I'll probably send you like a debit card or something like that, or a government credit card with an institution which will help you manage your $1 million. You're going to be able to pay school off, to buy yourself a car, buy a house, or pay your rent, or vacation, whatever you want to do, your medical bills. But guess what? In the contract, you will say, it will be stipulated that you will not be able to leave your job because you have $1 million. You will only be able to do that if you're moving forward to another job or something like that, or if something, unplanned happens, which always can. You get sick or whatever, knock on wood, whatever might happen, and you really can't keep on working. Now, what would you say if you're in that situation? I'll tell you, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you follow this rule. You have to sign a contract, and you're going to get a debit card or whatever, or a credit card with that amount of money. You can be able to manage it. Ain't a nation rich when most of the people are rich? Ain't a nation rich when most of its people are rich, actually? Just think about it. Think for a moment. Billions and billions of dollars. Remember in 2009 when we were saving the big banks and big companies that were too big to fail. And did we care about those losing just about some thousands of dollars that for them were more important than for a bank perhaps a couple of millions? No. Because many of them actually went broke. And some of them, they really never recovered. Think about starting thinking about people first, but in a very good, direct way. Think about the taxes you pay. Think about why we have so many lands that are absolutely unused, and they tell you about overpopulation. Wrong. Another blatant, miserable mistake. The world is not overpopulated. We are ruled by bad, horrible, terrible, retrograde, imbecilic demographic policies. Because of that, it is that the world is at a state that it is. I mean, humanity. We have refugees running away from wars, and when they get to a country or to a place, when they trying to seek shelter or becoming refugees, they actually have to face bureaucracy and lots of terrible hard measures. Well, we can actually work with the rest of the world, and if we do, if we come out with a plan, if we come out with a proper plan, it's not only a thing that the United States of America will have to fix, as it looks now that it has to. It will be a thing that the whole world will be more than delighted to do so. Even those countries in crisis, if they let themselves be intervened by the United Nations, and they actually sense a corp, a body, a group of people that are properly instructed and diligent in applying proper measures to bring a proper and adequate solution, trust me, things are going to get better. It's not like people want to leave their places and say, hey, goodbye, I hate you, I'll never want to see you again. No, because many immigrants are longing to go back to their places. And it's very understandable. Just think about the bad and suffering situation they get through and they go through. And we're not solving, and trust me, we're not going to solve the problem. Never, if we keep on doing the same. One solution, which I explain in my book, rests in the ideology of Georgeson and the land tax, and how to use or make proper use of unused lands and create spaces, productive spaces for more people to settle in, settle down, and start building up. Plus, a great opportunity for many companies and many other entrepreneurs to start businesses or to expand their businesses and help others grow. You give an extra fighting chance to those who are making money, and you give the proper fighting chance for those who have no chance whatsoever. Same thing with the homeless situation. Many people in a condition of homelessness, they don't know even where they're at. You need to create a housing system to shelter them, because especially in this situation, especially in this pandemic situation, they are in utter and sheer danger, sleeping in the streets. Trust me, I rescued several homeless during the last period of the past 10 months. And I talk about this to firefighters, to police officers, to social workers, and they all agree with me. Yeah, that's true. Those solutions would be really nice, and they're applicable. The thing is, who's willing to bet on that? If we see that we have rescue packages of trillions of dollars, I say, right, trillions of dollars, why can't we use that for the proper things to happen? Applying proper solutions, proper and adequate solutions to solve the most urgent human problems. Create towns, rebuild those towns that most of them or some of them have actually, they actually do have a structure still. And not only here in the United States of America, all over Europe, all over the American continents, all over the world. We can work together with the United Nations for the first time, do something that really works and people can feel it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are many great programs. UNESCO, United Nations, they have so many programs, they have helped lots of people. But it is not to help people to eat for one day or two or some, and they can keep themselves, and to keep themselves under a condition of poverty that now they're being fed. Give them the chance to thrive, a fighting chance. Use ideas like the Grameen Bank from Mr. Mohammed Yunus, the Economy Nobel Prize winner of 2006. The Grameen Bank was lending money to the poor of the poorest, to the poorest of the poor. And guess what? They were helping them start their own companies, small businesses. And the level and percentage of return of that money, when they were lending money to them, was of 98.5%. Super high, way higher than within some of the richest companies, the richest entrepreneurs of the world. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you what. So let's bring applicable solutions. We have to stop the discussion of right versus left, of cancel culture, or if there is, racism in cartoons or things like that. It's taking us nowhere. We gotta already start to inform and educate people. And trust me, if we properly educate people, if we start educating kids at an early stage, like say elementary all the way to high school, say educate them in anthropology, tell them about the origins of man and coffee in a very simple way. Tell them about the fact that there's only one race, there is only one race, a human race. Explain them about ethnicities, explain them about how wrong humans have done things throughout its history, so they understand what's wrong and what's right. And trust me, we will end once and for all the horrible concept of racism and the horrors and the imbecility that comes with that concept. And by the way, the ignorance that leads some people to be segregationist, classist, and racist. That's only because of ignorance, because of bad education, because of wrong things taking place in many places, in many circumstances. Even people that actually went through college and everything and came with theories about racism and stupidity like that. You have to pity those fools. They're ignorant. They should be treated from a healthcare perspective. There are people that should be treated before they do something really wrong, as it happened, unfortunately. It happened many times, unfortunately. And it altered and twisted what otherwise could have been a wonderful episode or chapter of human history. So yes, we need to understand that. And we can, trust me. Just follow me, Epic News. This presentation will be there on demand as well. Thank you all for being with me all over the world. Ciao Giuseppe, come stai? Tutto bene dall'Italia di Palermo. Buongiorno per lei Giuseppe e per me buongiorno e buonanotte perché è molto temprano a voi, però ai papani. And thank you all. Thank you for the people watching in Italy, England, Spain, Argentina, Brazil. Saudades a todos mis hermanos brasileños. Hola Argentina, hola España, tutto bene Giuseppe, che mono. Thank you very much everybody watching in English as well. Danke schön, some people in Germany, Deutschland. Well, thank you all very much, really. And I'm going to try to keep on posted and do more of this thing, especially as the publication of my book comes closer. We are refining the details of the publication, again, going through all the bureaucracy, but the Anti-Human Manifesto is going to be directed towards helping humans become better humans. We have to do all this together, and of course, it will involve you, because you have a space in that book to actually contribute with your ideas. Your ideas that we are going to use for the next human project. A next human project that should take us to a better, higher level of thinking. Thank you all very much for Epic News, and in Contexto, this is your friend and host, Marcelo Palermo. Giuseppe, grazie. Buongiorno a tutti in Italia. Thank you very much. You have a great one.